Welcome to Sound Up. I'm Mark Goodman.
And I am Alan Light.
If you are new to Sound Up, this is how we do things around here. Each week, we're going to do 2 episodes. Both feature the latest music news, big interviews, and quite a bit more. On the Tuesday episode, this one, will also feature our new music picks of the week, which you can hear on our Sound Up soundtrack playlist on Spotify.
Then our Friday episode is dedicated to you, the audience. We read your emails, play your voice messages, and welcome you to our live podcast taping. Yes, you can join the conversation as part of the Sound Up Pod Squad.
Ooh. To stay on top of all things Sound Up related, go to our website at sounduppod.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at sounduppod.com. So, strap in. If you're ready, let's do this.
This is Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters.
Hey, I'm Mark Goodman.
And I'm Alan Light, and welcome to Sound Up.
On today's show, we talk with Lou Gramm, original lead vocalist for Foreigner, and Peter Frampton. They are both now Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class of 2024 was announced on Sunday during a special version of American Idol, which saw all the contestants not only performing songs by Rock Hall inductees, but all mentored by Hall of Famer Gene Simmons of Kiss.
Which was a little wild.
I gotta say, Gene was not bad doing the mentoring.
He was not bad.
Although he kind of said the exact same thing to every one of them.
I think someone said, Gene, don't be yourself.
Yes.
Be positive. Don't rip these people apart.
He did manage each time. You're doing a Bob Dylan song? I wrote songs with Bob Dylan. You're doing a Motown song? I used to live with Diana Ross. Right. He did get to do his Gene Simmons thing, but it worked for the context. Anyway, we got the list of all 8, and we'll come back and talk about this, 8 performers on the ballot, and then another 8 early influences, musical excellence, non-performers also going in this year's ceremony. So
all of that to be discussed in moments, but we do have music news. We have a concert review on another Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, Judas Priest. Alan may have something to say about the new Taylor Swift release and our new music picks of the week.
But first thing, let's just run down everybody who's going into the Hall of Fame this year. That's the big moment, and we're going to get deeper into that later in the show. But let's run through who's on here. They did, in the official announcement, mix together the ones who were voted, the performers voted in on the general ballot, and the folks who went in through the other committees, which in some ways is sort of cool because they do all go in. They're all equal inductees. They all go on the wall the same way. But just to do it, let's break out and read. I'll read the ones who were voted in on the ballot, the performers list, and then you want to read the others from the other committees. So going in as performers voted in this year, the list is Mary J. Blige, Cher, Dave Matthews Band, Foreigner, Peter Frampton, Kool and the Gang, Ozzy Osbourne, and A Tribe Called Quest. Those 8. And again, we'll come back and talk about it. 8 is a lot.
It is. It's more than as members of the Academy we got to pick.
We'll discuss that as well. In the meantime, the rest of the list.
Also, the Rock Hall honors Jimmy Buffett, Dionne Warwick, Norman Whitfield, and the MC5 with the Musical Excellence Award, Big Mama Thornton, Alexis Korner, and John Mayall receiving the Musical Influence Award, and Suzanne DePass earning the Ahmet Ertegun Award. It's a hell of a class. I think it's a great list.
It's going to be a 9-hour show. That is a whole lot of inductees. But anyway, we'll come back and get into that after we talk to some of the folks who got in and look a little bit closer at this list and how this was all put together. But before we get into all that, we did want to note that the music community lost a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer a couple of days ago on April 18th. We got the news that Forrest Richard Betts, Dickey Betts, the Ramblin' Man himself, passed away at the age of 80.
Way to go, Dickey. The fact that you made it to 80 is shocking.
Yeah, that a lot of people would have lost the over-under that Dickey made it that long and kept going and kept playing, toward the end. First of all, leaves J-Mo as the only original member of the Allman Brothers still around. And it's always, when it gets down to 1, that's always a striking sort of thing, right? There's only that left to touch that history. But it was really interesting to see the response, particularly from guitar players, to the news of Dickey's passing. And a lot of the, Joe Bonamassa posted, and a lot of people you would maybe expect, but like Nels Cline from Wilco, like an amazing player, but you think of as much more as sort of an outside experimental player, wrote a really really beautiful tribute to how much Dickey Betts playing meant to him and how much it influenced him. And you just think about the reach of his playing. And really, I mean, history is funny to Dickey Betts, right? Because the original formulation of the Allman Brothers, it was so much Duane Allman's vision. It was so much Duane putting that band together, casting each part, doing the two guitar players, the two drummers, and being rightfully recognized as one of the greatest to ever do it. And in some ways, Dickey's contribution in those early days gets a little bit overshadowed, as part of that two guitar attack, who was able to go head to head, nose to nose with, a different style and really define the sound of that band just as much as Duane was.
The Brothers and Sisters record, with the first one out after Duane died, really showed what Dickey Betts was about.
That's the astonishing thing, right? Because they were so much defined by, it's these two guitar, these two unbelievable lead players.
Yeah.
Duane dies. He's the heart of the band. He's, the scene as not just the leader, but like the front man. They decide to go forward. Dickey Betts is now the only guitar player. As Greg Allman talked about in the memoir, he's like, Duane was the greatest slide player in the world. He's gone. All of a sudden, Dickey Betts is a slide guitar player. He writes what becomes their biggest hit ever, Ramblin' Man, obviously, but also Southbound and Jessica and Blue Sky. And they become the biggest band in the country after Duane is gone. And with Dickey fully stepping into that role. It's a crazy recasting of one of the great bands of all time. And, so much of that is Dickey just like picking that up and running with it.
True. So again, 80 years old, the great Dickey Betts has passed. We talked about Record Store Day last time around, and that was this past Saturday. Roger made it out to a record store somewhere in the wilds of, I don't know, Brooklyn or New Jersey or Pennsylvania or something. Scary stuff. What was that like, Roger?
A field report.
I went to my favorite record store, which is Main Street Jukebox in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And it is always a scene on Record Store Day. This is a pretty big store, too. So, when I got there in the afternoon. So, the initial rush of people waiting online, and wanting to rush in there and get their certain releases had kind of, eased up a bit. The owner, Tom, had said it was a crazy day. They had so many people coming in. And he said one of the biggest things people were looking for in that store was the South Park 25th anniversary concert vinyl. I went in there looking for a few things. One thing I did get, and I was really glad that I was able to get the Jesse Malin The Heat Record Store Day release, which came with a 7-inch as well. And I really wanted that Olivia Rodrigo 7-inch, and that was gone. That was long gone by the time I got there. But the stores were buzzing. The great thing about Record Store Day, as I am proof of, is you go in there for Record Store Day and you walk out with other stuff as well. I wound up buying a couple used records. I wound up getting the new Black Crowes record. I wound up getting a whole bunch of things.
That's the idea.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really cool. It's great to be in a record store, on a day like that and have it really hopping. And it was funny because the odd thing for me was I thought you'd go in, it's like day after the Taylor release, like there'd be a lot of Taylor stuff in there. I totally forgot about it when I walked in. And then I'm driving home like, I meant to pick up the Taylor album and I totally forgot. So I'm going to have to go back. All 31.
Well, all 31 are not on vinyl. We'll come back and talk about that. The double album that came out was the 16 songs with maybe a bonus depending on which version that we knew were coming, but not the whole second album of material that dropped a few hours after that first release.
She's such a trickster.
We'll come back to Taylor.
Yes. Well, we got you, Roger. Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about the concert that you saw?
Sure. So I went to see Judas Priest at the Prudential Center in New Jersey on Friday night. This was the second night of the American leg of their Invincible Shield tour, which is their 19th studio album. And I have not seen Judas Priest live in a while. Definitely pre-COVID was the last time I saw them. And I mean, I don't know what to say except that they are absolutely phenomenal live. As good now as ever. It's different not having Glenn up there. I know he does some shows sometimes when he's feeling up to it, comes out in encores and stuff. But Rob Halford's voice at 72 or at any age is absolutely phenomenal. Ian Hill, bass player, stands in one spot, rocking back and forth, the entire show, holding it down. And then there's Richie Faulkner, who's doing the job essentially of two guitar players. He's doing all of KK Downing's original stuff. He's doing all of Glenn Tipton's original stuff. Stands at the front of the stage. And this is a guy who had his aorta rupture on stage like maybe 3 years ago.
Just for effect. Just for effect.
That was just a pyro.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing. You think Judas Priest, you think smoke, fire, pyro. None of that. These guys came out, really cool lights, some screens, but it is just them kicking ass on an album that is fantastic, by the way. Invincible Shield is a fantastic album. They did a bunch of songs from it, including the single Panic Attack and some others. They went deep into the catalog. They did the Fleetwood Mac cover. It was just a great show.
They were one of your first shows, right? You were at the famous Riot at the Garden show.
I was at the famous Riot at the Garden show, and I have a seat cushion to prove it somewhere.
All right. From the middle desk, it's Roger Coletti reporting for Sound Up. All right. Maybe, I don't know if it's exactly 180 degrees.
Well, it's how I spent my weekend. So
yeah. Alan, your article in Esquire is really, really great. The Taylor album, for people who are listening, who, whether you're a Swiftie or whether you're just a fan, it's a lot. It is a lot to get through. And you articulated why it's a lot and why it's still amazing in your story.
Yeah, I got to try and rein this in, as I had to try and rein it in to, not sprawl over too many pages on the Esquire site. Roger, we'll put up a link to my piece. And I got to thank our friend Madison Vane over at Esquire for letting me go in and express my thoughts, opinions, and feelings about the Tortured Poets department. Look, she, as for anybody paying any attention, we knew that there were 16 songs coming. She had announced the titles and the whole thing and the bonus versions and everything. And at midnight on Friday night, those went up. Everybody went crazy. And then 2 hours later, 15 more songs went up, 31 songs in total, 31 being the inverse of 13, the Taylor Swift
And you
number.
Picked that out, too. I didn't think about that.
Oh,
You picked that out.
And listen, it's a big, messy, chaotic record. It's really slow and sad and vibey. There are no big hit banger singles on here at all. And as I said in this piece, but thinking about it a lot, this record, from any sort of commercial strategic standpoint, there's no reason for it to exist. I mean, she's still on the Eras tour for 6 more months. She has a hit. Cruel Summer from 3 years ago is still in the top 10. There's no urgency saying we need a new Taylor project. So I think you have to approach this from, this is a thing that she felt she needed to do.
Get it off her desk.
Get it off her desk. Get it off her chest. And summarize and catch up with the sort of lingering emotions and feelings from several relationships,
right.
the beginning and end of several relationships that she has not written about. And as a result, it's all over the place. It's way too long. It gets boring in parts. There's stuff that's great. There's stuff that's not great.
You comment in it's a little samey. The tone of it is, even though she's got, as you mentioned again in your piece, which is so good, Alan, really, the Aaron Dessner part of it, and yet
the first half of it is very Jack Antonoff dominated.
Yeah.
And so it's a very sort of throbby electro kind of a sound. The second half is mostly with Aaron Dessner from the National. It's quieter piano, string-based kinds of sounds. And both of them, it would benefit from if you lost some of these songs. But as we've talked about with the double albums over the ages, I mean, I wasn't going to go into writing about the White Album in this review, but as we've talked about often on air, everybody's like, the White Album would be great if it were just one LP and it was only the best songs. But it wouldn't be the White Album.
Exactly.
And similarly here, the sprawl and the sense of, here's everything that I am thinking and everything that I want to say. And it's not about quality control. And it's not about, I'm going to do a perfect, hit packed album. It's about something else, I think really is the lens that you need to listen to it through. It will be really interesting to see how it kind of sticks in the world. It's kind of smart that she really doesn't have to build a tour around it, because it would be very difficult to tour this material. It'll be wild to see which songs make it into the next 6 months set list, but then it sort of goes away. She's caught up. She's caught up with playing everything live on the Eras set. She's caught up with getting her, emotions caught up with these songs. And then what happens? I mean, it really does feel like
it's clear what happens. She breaks up with Kelsey and gets another album.
Well, or she goes quiet for a minute, which she has not done a lot of. But anyway, just to give the stats, just to do this, on Friday, Spotify said that the Tortured Poets Department was the first album in history to get 200 million streams in a single day. The update on Saturday is that it passed 300 million streams in a single day. And that Fortnight, which is the first single with Post Malone, most streamed song ever on Spotify in one day, topping Adele's Easy on Me. So we'll see how it sticks for something that is as sort of self-indulgent in some ways. And again, no bangers, no big crowd-pleasing songs. She knows what her fans need a lot better than anybody else does. And it'll be interesting to see, is this will they really stick with this one? And will fan favorite songs emerge? Is it, of course, right now she's too big to fail. Everybody's going to be there regardless. But sometimes it takes time for her projects to play out.
I should say the second show that we do every week is dedicated to you, the Sound Up Pod Squad. I want to hear how the fans who are listening to us now, how you have received this record and how you have sort of gone through it, what your weekend was like. And I'm curious that by the time that we do that recording, Wednesday nights, by the way, 5 p.m. Eastern, I'm curious where it's going to be at that point. Is the first week she goes crazy and then trails off because there's no bangers, because it's so massive? Or does she do what Taylor always do, which is just continue to rack up the freaking numbers?
I'm just going to say again, she's 18 years into this career.
Another point that you made in the story that I thought, shit, you're right. She's really been kind of nonstop since Tears on My Guitar.
It's astounding. In the last 5 years, 5 new albums, 4 re-recorded albums. Don't hold me to strictly to my math, but more than 200 new recordings in under 60 months. Yeah. And bigger and bigger and bigger at this phase in her career. No one has done this. And, when every day is a record, where do you go from there? But yes, as Mark says, we really do want to hear from you on the Taylor record, on Dickey Betts, on Record Store Day, and of course on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that we're about to get into. connect@sounduppod.com. Send us your email, send us your voicemails, join us when we record on Wednesday so that we can really, there's a whole lot to talk about this week.
True enough. And we're going to take a pause right here, but we mentioned at the top, and we will certainly get into it now after the break, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees have been announced. We'll run down those inductees for you in a second, and we'll talk with a couple of those inductees. Lou Gramm is going to be talking with us in just a bit. Peter Frampton will be joining us after that, so you pretty much should just stay where you are. We'll be right back.
This is Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters.
So as we mentioned at the top, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees have been announced. And I don't know about you, Alan, but I got worked fairly hard on Foreigner. I got some calls. I got some texts. I heard from people.
You had some street scene working.
They did, and apparently it worked out. Foreigner, now Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, and the original lead vocalist from that legendary band, Lou Gramm, joins us. What a great day to see you, Lou. So here you are. You're a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member now.
I can honestly say for the longest time, I thought that would never be.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you why, but it just didn't look like the cards were stacked that way.
So when you finally get the word, what is it relief? Is it still shock and awe? What happens when you get the call?
It's all those things and a sense of joy and satisfaction.
Yeah, for sure. The word just went down. It was announced last night or Sunday night on that TV show, American Idol. Have you had a chance to process, and more, have you had a chance, sadly, it's kind of you and Mick that are all that's left from the original band.
No, that's not true.
Who else is left?
Al Greenwood, the keyboard player, Dennis Elliott.
Oh, Dennis, you know what? I thought Dennis passed. Okay, great news.
Good news.
Dennis is alive.
After Ed Gagliardi left the band before Double Vision album, we got Rick Wills, so he's like an original member.
Right. I know that there are, because of those exits early on, yes, there's some that do feel original. And certainly I have to imagine are going to be up on stage.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that.
When you get the word, though, I mean, even as much as you've been thinking about it, obviously the last few months and from hearing the nomination and everything else, but when you get this word, do you think about the history, the legacy, the relationships, in a different way? Is there something that comes to focus when you get that news?
It's a deep sense of satisfaction, and it really, for me, acknowledges the time and effort that was put in writing and recording and touring to promote these songs over, 25 or 26 years that I was involved in the band. And we worked hard when those albums and those singles came out to make sure that the audiences heard them live, and that the records themselves had great production quality about them, not overdone, not crazy effects or anything. It's just roots rock and roll with some incredible playing and a feel to it,
and songwriting and singing. Are you expecting that you're going to be playing on the night of the induction?
As far as I know, there's going to be, each inductee will be able to play 2 songs.
Right.
Okay.
With this many inductees going in, I know there was talk about we've got to try to keep it contained
under 6 hours.
So, yes. The plan is that you'll get up and do it?
Yes. I think it's going to be great. Yep.
Fantastic.
Have you been able to speak with Mick?
I haven't spoken to anybody.
Okay.
Just us.
Yes. And I'm on good terms with everybody, but I've kind of been waiting to see if anyone would call or text me.
Mm-hmm. I guess what I think many of us are wondering is, how is Mick, and is he in a position to be texting you, or is he in a position to be on stage that night?
According to Foreigner's manager, Phil Carson, Mick is doing very well. And I think he's in very good shape to perform that night. And I'm excited for that.
Really great.
Obviously, it's not news. It's not news to you or to the world. Foreigner were not always critical favorites, not always industry favorites. A band, a popular, a people's band. Is there a vindication that comes with getting this recognition?
I think it does, and I can't exactly put into succinct words what those feelings would be, but it was a very uneasy. It felt very dissatisfying that for years we didn't even receive a nomination, and it was so obvious that, to me, I think, and to the fans, that we had done our part and we deserved to be there.
What did it mean thanks to our friend Mark Ronson, obviously leading the campaign out there and doing a lot of work for you guys, and getting folks like Paul McCartney to tweet support for Foreigner? I mean, what did it mean to you to see that kind of support from the music community?
It was unbelievable, and my hat's off to Mark. He's a great guy, a great musician. He's a master of the industry. He produces, he writes. He's terrific. For him to come to bat for us, it meant a lot. And for Sir Paul to make the comment that he did was unbelievable. I heard that. I kept playing it over and over again. I just wanted to hear it again. And I think that had tremendous impact.
That is phenomenal. And I mean, that night is a big night. It's a night that all of us, especially us Foreigner fans, have been waiting for. And we're all curious to see what that final conglomeration is going to be. If Foreigner is playing 2 songs, how do you guys work that out? And how do you pick 2 songs out of your catalog, for God's sake?
I'm sure. I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm sure that one of the songs will be "I Want to Know What Love Is."
Let's hope so.
and the other song, I'm rooting for Jukebox Hero.
You told me that 4 was your favorite Foreigner record.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that would be 2 ends of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're going to do "I Want to Know What Love Is," you got to come back with the rock song
That's
for
correct,
the other
yes.
one. You'll be going in with some folks who are sort of contemporaries. Peter Frampton, obviously Rick Wills, a direct connection
Absolutely,
between
yes.
Foreigner and Peter. Ozzy, somebody that I'm sure you were out with and bumping into over the years.
Totally. Did a lot of outdoor festivals with them.
What does it mean to go in alongside, some folks like that, some that you would think of as peers?
It's fantastic. Even though we got to the party a little late, so to speak, I think that people were going in with quality musical acts, rock acts, and I'm very proud to stand next to them.
And Alan was just saying, vindication of some sort. Maybe you weren't on the ballot for years when you should have been, but when you finally made it onto the ballot, you got in right away.
I've wasted enough time over the years wondering why we weren't on the ballot, and it was very upsetting to us.
Yep.
It just didn't seem right. We had all the qualifications, and I'm fortunate I didn't waste enough time being upset about it to stilt my life at all. But honestly, the feeling to be part of this unique and prolific group of musicians is next to none. It's awesome.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, Lou Gramm. I love the sound of that.
We get to be among the first to say Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Lou Gramm.
Hey guys, just as an aside, I've got a new album coming out in the fall.
All right.
This year. And it's going to be a very unique album. I garnered ideas from my first and second solo albums and from the Shadow King record. Usually you have 10 songs or so on an album, but you sometimes write 14 or 15 songs to get those 10. And a lot of the ones that don't make it out are good songs, but they just weren't finished. And I went back and got these great ideas that I heard and finished them. And that's the heart of the new album.
All right, coming out just before the induction. Good timing.
Well, I don't know if it's just before the induction or just after, but I know it'll be early fall, I think.
Lou, once again, congratulations. We will be looking for that new record and looking forward to that night for the induction at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you in Cleveland.
You got it.
That was our interview with Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee Lou Gramm. Up next is our interview with another 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, Peter Frampton, which was done on a different audio platform, so the audio may sound a little different.
Another artist who was on the list for the first time and gets inducted first time out. It took a long time to get you on the list. But Peter Frampton joins us right now. Congratulations, Peter. Really, really happy for you.
Well, thank you. Yes, it took a while, but, I never really expected it and kind of put it to the back of my mind after 20 years. And but it's a big deal for me. It's something that I never expected and am blown away. I think the thing that blew me away the most was not the actual getting in, but the amount of people that voted. That was unbelievable. And I can't thank everybody who did vote for me and they were doing it every day. I could tell.
Well, I was going to ask, we talked to you when the nominations came out and you had that excitement, but going through these few months, and I know you've been out, hustling the fan vote and seeing that response.
Right.
What's this ride been like? How did this compare to whatever was in your head about what it would feel like to go through this?
Well, I think I experienced it every night on the two-week little jaunts we went on this spring. And every time I would announce that, I got a phone call, last week or whenever it was, and said that my managers told me I'd been nominated. The crowd just all stood up every night and just wouldn't shut up. So that was a real reawakening for me of realizing this is a reality. This could happen, so. And then, of course, we had, we were playing mainly theaters, but between 2,500 and 5,000 seaters. Then we put the big QR code up on the screen and made everybody vote. So,
yes.
Wow, good move. That is genius. That's not illegal, is it, Alan?
And we sat there. I said, and we'll sit here and wait. And then the button went into da 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 da.
That's perfect. That is perfect. When you think about this, and you said it's a big deal.
Yes.
Alan and I have talked about this a bunch, that oftentimes, look, you're a British artist, but you've been living here. So
yes.
You're sort of Amero-Rideau, whatever.
Yes.
But the reason I mention that is because oftentimes Brits don't quite get it, what this means. So when you think about being inducted, do you think about the others who were in the hall before you, people who you're going in with? What's on your mind?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of Brits in there.
Indeed.
We should care. But I think it's because it's all over here and we don't have, maybe one year they'll do it in London. I don't know. That would be great.
Wow.
It
Would you?
wouldn't be a bad idea because, as you know, sometimes a lot of the British artists are the ones who don't come over or come over and say, "Oh, we had no idea it was such a."
Exactly. I think if we had, that's something that maybe we should whisper to John Sykes.
I like that.
Maybe that would be good to go over to Europe and do it. Not just London. Maybe another time, another big city in Europe.
It's not a secret, and you've obviously talked so much about yours as a career with the highest of highs and lowest of lows. I mean,
yes,
they've been to the moon and back. And what is it that you reflect on with an honor like this when you stop and as a chance to, okay, here's what it all kind of adds up to, and you look across the whole thing.
Right. Well,
what comes up?
I got a lovely congratulatory email from someone that I didn't know who he was when I first met him, but I definitely did afterwards. And that was Glyn Johns, the engineer. And I met him through Bill Wyman when I was 13. And it just made me think, good Lord, it's 60 years since I went into the studio with Bill Wyman and Glyn Johns with the Preachers and had my first professional session, and I blamed them. Bill and I said, it's all your fault. This is all your fault. But it makes me think, good Lord, that's 60 years ago, and I haven't stopped. I might not have been on the tip of everybody's tongue for all those years, but for a lot of them. And I don't give up, whether it's a career, a falter, or if it's a disease. It doesn't matter. I never have given up. And I just keep going, and doing my thing. And I think along the way, I learned that I'm an artist. I'm not an image. I'm not a face. And I'm very proud of what I do. And this, to me, is for a lifetime's worth of career. And I believe that it's so humbling.
Have you thought at all? Well, obviously, you're going to play that night, right? I'm just assuming that.
Yes.
Okay, I made that leap. Have you thought at all about, I mean, obviously you have a band as well, so those are probably going to be who you're going to be up on stage with. And I know it's early, the word just came down, but how the hell do you pick two songs? Everyone's going to get two songs. Any idea?
I don't know. I thought She Loves You and Please Please Me.
Yes.
Makes sense to me. I get it.
Do some Beatle numbers.
To the very beginning, yes.
I've got an idea of who I would like to play with, but I haven't spoken to anybody yet. Today I'll start to reach out to people, but yeah, I have no idea how long we have minute-wise,
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know that Cheryl got 8 minutes, I think, musically. So I'm going to barter with, how about if I do a short speech,
Yes.
like a 35-second speech? Can I fit in 27 minutes and do you feel?
Is that right? They gave her 8 minutes, including her speech?
No. It was 8 minutes of music.
Yeah.
8 minutes of music. I believe that's what I was told anyway.
Well, we just spoke with Lou Gramm, who was going in also, and he's apparently has spoken to people. Everybody gets two songs, which seems fair. It's going to be a hell of a long night, worse than like the Oscars or the Grammys.
Right. But the last one was that I was a part of. I really enjoyed, and I thought that it was one of the better ones they've ever had. So not because I was on it, because the onus wasn't on me, but I just thought that everyone I spoke to thought that it was one of the better ones. And I think it's just getting better and better.
I think going to live broadcast kept things moving.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure in many challenging ways, but also I think made for a better show. As Mark said, we just talked to Lou Gramm, and there's some contemporaries. I mean, obviously, Foreigner and you, Rick Wills, is kind of a link right between them. Ozzy, I'm sure you've bounced off of, numerous times over the years. How is it to go in with some folks that you think of as peers and looking at the list of folks who are joining you on this esteemed list?
I think everybody on that induction list deserves it, obviously. And Foreigner should have been in a long time ago, too. And so obviously Mick Jones and I go back to my very first solo record. Even before that, Humble Pie was formed during a Johnny Hallyday French recording session, and Mick Jones was his songwriter, band leader. to have Mick, and I spoke to Lou the other day too, and we were congratulating each other for the nomination and hoped that we would both make it. So we have now. So I'm going to speak to Mick and Lou again.
Wow, we want to talk to you after that. That's great. I wondered, I mean, knowing your history with Mick and considering what the situation is now, I wondered what the situation was in terms of his showing up and receiving calls. We didn't know what condition he was in. But Lou is very, very positive, and he seems to be feeling good. And he seems to say that Mick is going to be there.
It's possible that Mick is going to come down to see me, and we're going to do a little video together of just talking about the connection between the two of us, our longtime friendship and everything. So I think so, too. I mean, as far as I can tell, but I do not know his decision on playing or turning up, whatever. I'm pretty sure he's going to want to do that. So.
I'm sure that he would want to, and getting from now to October, I'm sure we'll see what everybody is at the time. So we should, before I've said it when we were off air, but we should also say happy birthday in Frampton.
Right.
Quite the birthday, quite these 24 hours here.
Yes, quite the birthday is right. Yeah. So it's it's all come at once. So I can't. It's bizarre.
Just all kinds of things that make you look back and count how many freaking years have I been doing this?
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, I still love doing it. You know, I mean, this tour was so enjoyable. I mean, it just gets more and more enjoyable for me. You know. Yes, I'm adapting my playing, but I'm enjoying adapting too. I know it sounds strange, but my weaknesses has become a strength now, you know, and I'm using that in a positive way. So don't count me out yet.
And working on new music and putting up some more dates.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
All right, Peter Frampton. Congratulations.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Peter Frampton.
Many thanks to Peter Frampton, and more congrats on finally his induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Alan, you've been a part of the committee for a while. What does it mean for you? I know Peter Frampton is someone who you've worked with. You worked on his memoir. Do you have any special feelings about him getting in?
No, look, on a personal level, I'm thrilled. I always felt a little conflicted, not always, since working, over the last few years, and as his star has kind of risen and he's gotten further in the process, you worry about your own conflicts.
Right.
Is it right for me to take a stand or sit out or advocate for, or, what's the right thing there? But listen, I'm delighted that this, has worked out for him. And this whole list in general, we knew going in that this list of nominees was a really interesting, there wasn't any clear breakaway, like everybody's going to vote for this one. Nobody's going to vote. You had, feelings one way or another, but it kind of bore that out. The fact that 8 acts off the ballot are going in, which is the most, is because the voting was so close. Those 8 were apparently like very narrow margins between number 1 and number 8. And then there was a drop off. Like it was clear where the break came, and that it just didn't seem fair to cut off 7 or 8 because it was only a few votes separating them. And, on other years they've aired on like, look, if it's that close,
right,
you don't throw them off.
I wondered about that. Why so many, and how they determine where the break comes. Where they stop. Yeah,
that was where the natural break fell. But it's a lot of acts, and interestingly, it's a lot of acts, most of whom are, these are alive and mostly active artists that are going in.
Right.
So sometimes it's a longer list, but they're not still around. You can do a package. It'll make the night short. Like this is going to be a beast to put together.
Right. For sure.
So, which we want to talk to all of you guys in our second show this week about your reactions to this list. Again, connect at sounduppod.com for your thoughts. But were there any? What off of this list, Mark? Who surprised you most that they got in, and who surprised you most that they didn't?
Well, I kind of thought that Cher was going to get in. I had a problem. I don't mind when punks diss the Rock Hall, but when Cher disses the Rock Hall, I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way. But I kind of thought that Eric B. and Rakim were going to get in. They are that seminal. Although I'll say I voted for Tribe, and I was happy that Tribe got in. The other one that it's just a personal thing. Isn't it a little early for Dave Matthews to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? No offense. I know that he's huge and people love him. Do you feel me on that or no?
I mean, he's been on the ballot before. We're well clear of the 25 years.
Yes, I know he meets all the criteria.
He feels early more than, say, Radiohead did when they went in, or...
No.
Okay. I mean, he's not, half this ballot was he's no newer an artist than Sinead or Oasis or, a bunch of the other 90s artists that went up. Dave Matthews clearly the most sort of polarizing. I mean, I saw the most people going, I can't fucking believe Dave Matthews Band is going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Also saw, in some ways, the most people posting, thank God, been waiting for Dave Matthews Band to go in the Hall of Fame.
That's always the way, right?
I mean, I just think you can make if you want to talk about influence, if you want to talk about impact, Dave Matthews Band sort of defined this second wave jam band movement in a way that I think if you're telling the story, if I always go back to, if this is telling the history of, rock and roll and popular music, I can make the case for Dave Matthews Band, whether I'm a listener or not. And the numbers are, 9 number one albums and the second most number of tickets sold of any artist in the last 40 years. Like, the stats are certainly there, but I think more than that, more than just the sort of popularity index, the way that he stands for what became that whole
his shadow movement is long.
Yeah,
it's true.
I think that really is the case.
Maybe it's just that I don't like the band. Maybe that's what
fine.
it is.
I mean, it's okay if that's what it is. So I'll say the one that most surprised me that he didn't get in was Lenny Kravitz.
Huh, really? See, that's another one that I thought early. I know that he fits the criteria.
Not the most surprised in that I thought he was the most worthy that didn't get in. To me, I always look at Lenny Kravitz and Sheryl Crow as such parallel figures and parallel careers.
Why?
Because they're both that they'll kind of do their thing and then every few years there'll be a big hit that'll sort of make them, put them back in the public. The greatest hits records are huge for that reason. They kind of stand for, those are rock stars of their era.
Right.
I feel like a lot of people who grew up at a certain time, those are kind of who slots in as that's what a rock star is like. And I just thought Sheryl going in as easily as she did last year, I thought those votes would really correlate to Lenny Kravitz votes. The one that I was most pleasantly surprised did get in is Mary J. Blige, because I have fought for Mary J. Blige in previous years, submitted her for nomination. It did not work out. She did not do great. And I sort of backed out of that fight for a while and am thrilled that, voters have come around and caught up enough to recognize somebody who I think is a massive influence. As we talked about when the nominations came out, I can make that case that those early Mary J. Blige records, the hip hop soul records, and putting rappers on songs with hooks, the record with Method Man, the record with Biggie, those created what pop radio sounded like for years and years and years. That was the blueprint for
100%.
What a transformation of music. So I think she's a really important figure, and I just didn't think the support was there. So that one surprised me in the best way.
I'll say this, I have, more thoughts on who got in and who didn't. We can talk about that on the next show, on the Sound Up, Sound Off show, which we want you to be a part of because we want to hear your take on the class of 24 as well. Connect at sounduppod.com is where you can go to request an invitation and you can join us. We got room for you. We want to get you in, and we're going to record Wednesday, as always, 5 p.m. Eastern time. All right. So get your emails in and we want to hear from you on that and Taylor Swift album. And there's so much.
Before we're out of here, got a couple of new music picks we want to throw out there.
Go ahead. I got two. Again, spent most of the weekend with the Tortured Poets department, so did not get a lot of other listening. Indeed.
It's squeezed in there, but two songs I wanted to note. Last week was the 30th anniversary of the Illmatic album by Nas. Unquestionably one of the great hip hop records of all time. And in honor of that anniversary, Nas put out a new song with DJ Premier, who was one of the producers on Illmatic, a song called Define My Name. That's just a straight up Nas rhymes on rhymes track, a straight boom bap throwback kind of a song. There's an album that's coming, but look, 30 years later, and he says it on the record, thought I'd be old when I was 30, 40. Here I am, 50 years old, still ready to do this, and just have to shout out and recognize Nas still at the top of the game doing this stuff. The other one that I wanted to mention is a There's a Pakistani singer named Arooj Aftab.
Oh, yeah.
She was a Grammy winner last year. She did a project with Vijay Iyer. She's done some other stuff. She has an album coming out, and there's a new song called Raat Ki Rani. Tessa Thompson directed the video. The actor Tessa Thompson directed the video. But this track is so cool and kind of sounds like a Sade record. Like,
I agree.
Super vibey song, and I really liked that. I've been interested in Arooj. I don't know a lot. I sort of have listened to those records as she's gotten recognition, but I like this song a whole lot. So Raat Ki Rani from Pakistani vocalist Arooj Aftab is the other one I was going to call out.
Two great picks. My two, one is from friends of the show, I guess I could say. Friends of ours, The Regrets, have a new song out, and I have been wondering, where the hell have they gone? And so I'm happy that there's at least one new song out from the Spiderwick Chronicles.
And this is with a new configuration, right? I think one of the band left.
Yes. But, of course, I'm blanking on her name now. The lead vocalist.
Lydia Knight.
She is still there. And the vibe of the band is still very much what it has been. That's sort of the second phase. You know, they were sort of one thing on the first album and then kind of evolved beautifully. So that's one called Something Magic. And hey, look, the Taylor record was a lot of my weekend too, I gotta say. I did stretch out a bit more because I didn't have to write a story on it. But I'll just pick one. The duet that she does with Florence Welch, Florida, I love Florence on her own, and the two of them together, the difference in their voices. She is so sort of smooth, and Florence is so ballsy.
And
Great.
she gives some more space to Florence. I mean, a lot of the Taylor duets tend to be the partner is way in the background.
Doing backing vocals.
Yeah, even the Post Malone single, not a whole lot of Post Malone on there.
True.
But Florence Welch really gets put front and center to share the vocals on Florida. And it really does, again, at a point where the album, like I said, is feeling a little bit samey, a little bit sort of in the same place. And then that song kind of explodes out of there. So it really does stand out.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's going to do it for Sound Up this time around. But I'll say once again, we want you to join us, be part of our virtual audience for the Sound Up, Sound Off show, which we record Wednesday night, 5 p.m. Eastern.
You can hear our new song selections, our picks, at our Spotify Sound Up soundtrack playlist. And do not forget to give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you listen to Sound Up on. We'll see you next time, and you'll hear us next time on Sound Up.
Sound Up is hosted by Mark Goodman and Alan Light, produced by Roger Coletti, distributed by Revolver Podcasts. Get Sound Up on Pandora Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. To be a part of the show, email us at connect@sounduppod.com. Sound Up theme music is by Smile from Tokyo. We'll see you next time right here on Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light.